Good day and thank you for joining us on Beetv News Update at 3. I am Liberateman Johanna. Now the news in details. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, has said the ministry's 2026 capital budget will prioritize the completion of major highways and 4 legacy projects initiated by President Bola Tinubu. The Umahi stated this while defending the ministry's 2026 budget proposal before the Senate and House of Representatives committees on work at the National Assembly. According to him, the proposed 2026 capital estimate stands at 3.244 trillion naira. He explained that the current administration inherited over 2,000 ongoing projects in 2023, many of which were rolled over into subsequent budgets. The minister added the rising costs following the removal of fuel subsidy and the floating of the naira forced the government to rescope and reprioritize several projects to align with available resources.
Important project for Mr. President. He's not asking me on Coastal Road or Sokoto Badagry, but he keeps sending people to me to find out about the progress of that project. Honorable Yusuf, the first project is 118 kilometers. It is 252 billion. President has paid 50% of that project. The second project is 502 billion. It is 164 kilometers, all on concrete. President changed the narrative.
When I traveled through that road, because I'm also a cameraman, I could see, you see the tracks. Whether they are working or not is arguable. It's like what I saw when I was a governor. Say ongoing. I go there, I see the tractor that is not moving. And you see it, all over the place. This Kaduna road is not a miracle, it's not rocket science.
The Nigerian Correctional Service has urged the House of Representatives to adopt non-custodian measures to address congestion in correctional centers across the country. The report.
The call was made during a session at the National Assembly focused on justice sector reforms. At the same sitting, the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment told the Joint House Committee that Nigeria recorded $21 billion in capital importation in the first 10 months of 2025. This marks a significant rise from about $12 billion in 2024 and less than $4 billion in 2023, reflecting improved investor confidence. The minister said the ministry's focus in 2026 would be implementing and advancing industrial policy through targeted value chains. However, he noted that the proposed 2.72 billion naira capital allocation may be insufficient to meet program demands. Lawmakers also queried the proposed 360 million naira budgeted for local and international travel in 2026, which the ministry defended as necessary to attract increased domestic and foreign investments.
Exports grew by about 11% year-on-year to approximately $6.1 billion, the highest ever in both volume and value of non-oil exports in Nigeria's history.
While macroeconomic reforms have tested our collective resolve, our presence here today signifies a transition from abstract macroeconomic numbers to concrete strategic growth that our citizens must directly feel in their daily lives.
The Nigeria Correctional Service has advocated the adoption of non-custodial measures to decongest correctional centers across the country.
We request an initial dedicated provision of 37,988,109,117 naira for the non-custodial directorate to strengthen community-based corrections and support the effective implementation of non-custodial measures in the 774 local government areas.
The committee has appealed to President Bola Tinubu to sign the Nigeria Correctional Service Trust Fund Bill into law to improve funding and upgrade correctional centers nationwide. Lawmakers said the proposed trust fund would provide sustainable financing to better equip facilities, enhance rehabilitation programs, and improve the welfare of inmates and personnel.
Going to work with our profession and the leadership. My colleagues made mention of you working with the executive. It's me as a chairman know how far we have gone. Like sometimes 2 a.m., 3 a.m. we will not sleep where we are meeting with the executive, what can be done making sure the right thing is done in the correctional service.
The Nigeria Correctional Service has disclosed that out of 80,000 inmates currently held in correctional facilities nationwide, only 24,910 are convicted prisoners. Naomi Ewere, reporting from Beetv News.
Chief of the Air Staff Air Marshal Sunday Aneke has opened a two-day meeting with senior officials at the Nigeria's Air Force headquarters. The Air Chief said the world is closely watching Nigeria following the United States designation of the country as a country of particular concern, prompting an increase in internal operations to address insecurity and promote religious freedom. He affirmed the Nigerian Air Force's loyalty to the Constitution and the government, condemning any attempts to undermine democratic governance. Troops of the Joint Task Force Operation Hadin Kai have killed 16 terrorists along the Gidan-Kaji axis of the Makodari-Damboa Road in Borno State. The troops recovered more than 20 bicycles, weapons, and a cache of logistics items and supplies believed to be critical to terrorist operations. In a statement issued on Wednesday, Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, Media Information Officer of Operation Hadin Kai, said 11 kidnapped victims were rescued at different locations within the theater of operations. He added that suspected ISWAP logistics suppliers transporting a large quantity of drugs intended for terrorists were arrested around the Bukate axis. The military said the operation significantly degraded the terrorists' capabilities, disrupted their logistics, and demonstrated Operation Hadin Kai commitment to dismantling terrorist networks in the northeast. The Nigeria Revenue Service, formerly the Federal Inland Revenue Service, has recorded a record revenue collection of 28.3 trillion naira for 2025, surpassing its target of 25.2 trillion naira. The report.
The achievement was disclosed by Ms. Amina Ado-Kurawa, Executive Director of the Government and Large Taxpayers Group, on behalf of NRS Executive Chairman Zak Adedeji during the opening of a two-day management retreat in Abuja. The service recently rebranded from FIRS to NRS to reflect its role as a centralized tax administration body responsible for collecting revenue for the Federation, not just the federal government. The retreat, held under the theme designed to adapt, built to deliver, focused on strategies to improve revenue mobilization and strengthen tax administration.
Revenue service will not be defined by what we say in this room. It will be defined by who we become after we leave it. We stand at the edge of one of the most significant institutional transformations in this country's history. The credibility of Nigerian revenue architecture and confidence in Nigerian economy rests in our hands. If we walk into this future with rigid belief, we will build walls where bridges are required. But if we lead with honesty, courage, and open mind, we will build an institution worthy of this moment.
The Nigerian Revenue Service has set its revenue collection target for 2026 at 40.71 trillion naira, representing a 44% increase over the 2025 target.
A target of 25.2 trillion, if you may recall, and if you compare that with what we did in 2024, where it was 21.7 trillion. But at the end of last year, we were able to deliver 28.3 trillion. That is 30% more than what we collected in 2024.
4 landmark tax laws have now been enacted, being implemented. That chapter, long, complex, and politically demanding, has been concluded. But legislation, however well drafted, does not raise revenue. Delivery does. Execution does. And it's the quality of that execution that will ultimately determine whether this reform succeeds or merely just a long list of well-intentioned initiatives. This will definitely succeed.
The Nigeria Revenue Service has revealed that non-oil taxes accounted for 21.44 trillion naira of its 2025 revenue allocation, surpassing the projected 18 trillion naira. The executive director, during a breakdown of the 2025 figures, said the agency exceeded its overall target by 12%, driven largely by stronger than expected non-oil tax performance. Naomi Ewere reporting from Beetv News.
The Chinese Committee on Defense has called for the full and timely implementation of Nigeria's 2026 defense budget as ministries undergo budget defense sections at the National Assembly. Chairman of the committee, Senator Ahmed Lawan, made the call during a section where the Minister of Defense presented the ministry's 2025 budget performance and the 2026 budget proposal. He stressed that defense spending cannot be delayed, warning that any funding gap could give criminal elements and insurgents an advantage. Senator Lawan also emphasized the need for adequate tools and weapons to effectively combat insecurity, noting that such equipment can only be acquired through sufficient funding. The Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, reaffirmed the ministry's commitment to improving performance despite existing challenges. Sokoto State has benefited from the federal government's presidential initiative for emergency food and nutrition support, with over 20,000 vulnerable households receiving assistance. Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Dr. Yusuf Tanko Senunu, flagged off the distribution in Sokoto, saying the program targets vulnerable persons affected by conflict, natural disasters, and other socio-economic shocks. He said the intervention aims to mitigate hunger, poverty, and conflict among affected households. Sinono added that the government is not only distributing food but also providing nutritional supplements for children suffering from acute malnutrition. He noted that despite reduced global support for humanitarian activities from international partners, President Bola Tinubu is expanding support and building sustainability by training internally displaced persons with skills to produce food and enhance food security.
In the national system, communities continue to receive support without disruption, capacity building, and we also ensure that there is capacity building in federal, state, and local levels.
Now to business news. The federal government's plan to provide stable electricity to federal universities and tertiary hospitals has stalled due to the non-release of funds allocated in the 2025 budget. Although over 300 billion naira was earmarked in the 2025 Appropriation Act for the special energy intervention, no funds have been released, resulting in no progress on the project. The report.
The Special Advisor on Media to the Minister of Power, Bolaji Tunji, confirmed that no funding has been released for the project. The initiative was designed to address persistent power shortage in teaching hospitals and universities, many of which rely heavily on diesel generators. About 300 billion naira was allocated in 2025 budget to provide stable electricity to these institutions, mainly through solar, hybrid, and renewed energy solution. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has reached its full nameplate capacity of 650,000 barrels per day following the restoration and optimization of its crude distillation unit and motor spirit production block, marking what the company described as a global first for a single train refinery of its scale. In a statement on Wednesday, the firm said the development signals a critical phase in the ramp-up of Africa's largest oil refining facility, with the refining commencing a 72 hours intensive performance test run in collaboration with its licensor, UOP, to validate operational stability, efficiency, and compliance with global standards. The refinery stated that the milestone followed a scheduled maintenance service on the crude distillation unit and MS block, after which both units were fully stabilized and optimized for steady-state operations. The managing director, chief executive officer of Dangote Petroleum Refinery, David Bird, used the seamless integration of the unit underscores the refinery's engineering depth and operational resilience. The executive secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Felix Ogbe, has called for unprecedented collaboration across the continent to propel Africa's energy sector to global competitiveness. Speaking on the 10th edition of SIPEC in Lagos, Ogbe stressed that shared vision and cross-border cooperation are critical to developing sustainable local content strategies. According to Ogbe, collaboration between government, private sector players, and local communities is fundamental to successful local content policy. He stated that in Nigeria, the local content strategy has been internationally and methodically implemented. At the continent level, he emphasized the need for alignment and regulatory harmonization. Favor Kolawole reporting for Beetv News.
And on the global scene, violence broke out in Argentina's capital on Wednesday as activist groups and labor unions staged mass protests against a controversial labor reform bill currently under debate in the Senate. Clashes between demonstrators and police left several people injured and led to multiple arrests, according to local authorities. The report.
Thousands of protesters gathered near the National Congress building in Buenos Aires, waving union flags and chanting slogans against the proposed legislation. The bill, backed by the government, seeks to introduce sweeping changes to Argentina's labor laws, including modification to severance pay regulation, collective bargaining agreements, and hiring practices. Union leaders argue that the reforms would significantly weaken workers' protection and undermine collective bargaining rights. They claim the measure favors employers and could lead to job insecurity, reduced compensation, and restriction on the right to strike. This reform represents a direct attack on workers' rights that have been fought for over decades. A union spokesperson told reporters at the scene, "We are here to defend those rights and to demand that the Senate reject this bill." Tensions escalated in the afternoon when some protesters attempted to breach security barriers set up around Congress. Police responded by deploying rout units, tear gas, and water cannons to disperse the crowd. Scattered confrontation followed, with protesters throwing stones and other objects at security forces. Emergency services confirmed that several demonstrators and police officers sustained minor injuries during the arrest. Authorities reported that a number of individuals were detained on charges related to public disorder and vandalism. The government has defended the reform package, describing it as necessary to modernize Argentina's labor market, attract investment, and stimulate economic growth amid ongoing financial challenges. Officials argue that the change will encourage formal employment and reduce litigation costs for businesses. Senate debates continued inside the Congress building despite the unrest outside. Lawmakers from opposition parties have voiced strong objections to key aspects of the bill, while government allies insist the reforms are critical to stabilizing the economy. The outcome of the Senate vote remains uncertain as negotiations between political blocs continue. Meanwhile, union leaders have warned that further nationwide strikes and demonstrations could follow if the bill is approved. Security around government buildings in Buenos Aires has been tightened as authorities brace for additional protests in the coming days. Favor Kolawole reporting for Beetv News.
On the entertainment news, social media activist Very Dark Man has publicly criticized nightlife entrepreneur Cubana Chief Priest over his political alignment with APC, referencing detained IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu in the process. The report.
In a viral video, Very Dark Man accused Cubana Chief Priest of seeking influence and clout while allegedly aligning with the City Boy movement, a slogan associated with President Bola Tinubu's supporters. He questioned the businessman's stance, suggesting that prior rhetoric about political support tied to Nnamdi Kanu's release had shifted. Very Dark Man stated that his respect for Cubana Chief Priest now hinges on tangible outcomes, specifically referencing Kanu's continued detention. He argued that political endorsement should translate into meaningful action rather than personal gain. In another development, media personality Daddy Freeze had reacted strongly to people advising popular streamer Pella to abandon content creation and return to school. Speaking on the issue, Freeze referenced American YouTuber Aisha Speed as an example of how lucrative digital content creation can be. According to him, the streamer allegedly earns $800,000 monthly, yet reportedly considered the amount small compared to the effort he puts into his work. According to Daddy Freeze, secondary school education remains the only compulsory academic level. He explained that professions such as medicine, law, engineering, and pharmacy require formal university training. However, for creatives who are already thriving in the digital space, he questioned the relevance. While some Nigerians agreed with Freeze, others maintain that formal education still provides structure and long-term security beyond internet fame. It will be recalled that Aisha Speed visited Nigeria weeks ago during his Africa tour to celebrate his 21st birthday. During the visit, Pella attempted to meet him but was allegedly denied access by his security officials. The conversation continues to trend online as many weigh the balance between education and financial success in today's evolving digital landscape. Nollywood actor Uzo Arukwe has finally reacted to the swirling rumors linking him to the alleged marital crisis between BB Niger star Bam Bam and Teddy A. Speculation had trailed the reality TV couple after fans noticed that they unfollowed each other on social media. The development sparked widespread concern online, with many assuming their marriage might be over. However, Bam Bam later appeared to shut down the rumors by flaunting her wedding ring in a social media post. The controversy deepened after an ex-user identified as Stay Wicked made a bold claim about the couple's relationship. The user alleged that Bam Bam's marriage had crashed because she was reportedly pregnant for Uzo Arukwe. James Van Der Beek, the legendary American actor best known for his role as Dawson Leary in the hit 1990s teen drama Dawson Creek, had passed away. His wife, Vanda James, announced his passing via an Instagram post. According to her Instagram post, the actor passed away on February 11, 2025, with his family stating that he met his final days with courage, faith, and grace. The actor's wife has requested privacy as the family grieves his passing. Notably, Van Der Beek, a talented American actor, was born on March 8, 1977 in Shershire, Connecticut. He rose to fame with his iconic role as Dawson Leary in the hit TV series Dawson Creek, 1998 to 2003. Additionally, his early life involved acting in local theater production, and he even landed a role in the off-Broadway play Finding the Sun at age 16. And that's it on the entertainment news. Evelyn is able reporting for Beetv News.
Lastly, on sports news, Barcelona has renewed their interest in Victor Osimhen and are preparing a fresh move for the Galatasaray forward this summer. The Catalan club see the Nigeria international as a long-term replacement for Robert Lewandowski as the plan for the future. Osimhen has been one of Europe's most consistent scorers since the 22-23 season when he led Napoli to the Serie A title. His pace, strength and finishing ability have made him a key figure for Galatasaray, who are enjoying domestic and European success largely driven by his goals. The Turkish club would prefer to keep him for at least another season. However, Galatasaray are reportedly willing to open negotiations at around 80 million euros if Barcelona or another top European club make a serious offer. Such a fee would boost the Turkish side finances while giving Barcelona a proven striker entering his prime. And that's it on our news update. Thank you for joining us. To stay with us for more updates in our major news at 6. I am Liberates Manjoana.